Hi everybody, today we're going to be making a background. This was a video that I was requested to do. I was requested to show how I did my kind of grungy old looking backgrounds, and I think this is the one that was meant, so I'll show you kind of example. This is one, I think, of one of my old kind of grungy looking backgrounds, this kind of parchmenty style that I made with chalk pastel. And for this one I did it over the whole page and then just worked on top for these bits. I left the bit with the rose because I wanted that to be white, but everything else I did over with the chalk pastel, worked on top of it. And I did actually try and film this one at the time I was doing it, and it was a complete disaster, so I'm hoping this one goes okay. If you're watching this, then it did, so yay. Anyway, that's one example. Another example is this one that I actually did after I'd finished the picture and just did the background around the edges afterwards, kind of leaving a bit of a white space around the image. You can come closer than that. That's as close as I dared to come at the time. And this one is a bit more extra grungy because I splashed some paint on afterwards. So I'll show you how I did that as well. So yeah, here we go. And you'll see today that I'm filming actually on some cardboard instead of on my usual white paper background. This is actually the back cover of a big sketchbook. But this method gets really messy, which is why I've got an extra big piece of scrap paper behind there to stop all the chalk pastel dust from getting on the other pages. And I've also used some masking tape and stuck down a piece of scrap paper just to protect that page, because chalk pastel will probably get on there. And you can rub the majority of it out. It's erasable afterwards, but just to be safe, I am leaving that there. These are the two sets of chalk pastels that I do have. The first one, as you can see, is really old and well loved. This is from W.H. Smith. It's 24 soft pastels. And that's the set that you get in that one. Those ones there. And the other set I actually got from a charity shop. Yep, the other set I got from a charity shop, and that's these ones, which actually has more colours in it, I think. And they're bigger sticks. Those colours there. And the colours I generally use for this kind of grungy parchmenty background is, you can tell which ones because they're the ones that are broken, is this one here, kind of a yellow ochre colour. But I like to use this one rather than the one from that set because this one is rather more of a gold colour than a yellow. This one is more of a yellow than gold, so I like to go with the kind of goldy yellow, so I like to stick with that one. And then, like I said, you can tell because they're broken. This one, I suppose you can call that kind of a raw umber sort of colour. That one. And this one at the very end. Okay, so those are the three colours that I generally like to use. I'll just move those over to the side. So these three colours here, that one, and that one. And I start off first with the yellow ochre. Sorry, I might have knocked the camera there, the tripod. And I just go around the edge. I usually try and make it kind of up and down sort of movement like this. Maybe that kind of follows the kind of grain of the paper or something. Go around the edge of the paper. Now, this picture, I don't really mind if his horns of this beastie in the background disappear into the background a little bit, because the main focus of my picture is going to be the bunny rabbit, being my bunnies are my theme for this month. So yeah, try and keep it fairly flat to get some even colour. You can smooth it out afterwards. I'll show you how I do that. But yeah, this is fairly rough and it probably looks pretty terrible at the moment, but I'm going to go in and smooth it out in a minute. Which will hopefully make it look a bit better. Right, that's my first layer. And what I do is just use just a tissue, normal tissue that you get from the supermarket, nothing fancy. And then just rub it in and spread this colour around the edges. Well, I don't really mind if I go over my picture there, but you can just go as close as you want to. Just taking the yellowy colour, spreading it out and taking it quite close to your image there. And like I said, I don't really mind if his horns disappear into the background, so I'm going over them there at the top. You don't have to. You could, if you wanted to be really fussy and just go right to the edges of your picture, you could use a cotton bud and just, yeah, take it in right around the edges like that. That's if you wanted to be really fussy. But I'm not too worried about this, to be honest, because the main beast, the big beastie in the background, is supposed to be in the background. So I'm fading him out a little bit there. I'm taking it over the bottom a little bit as well, just to blend the image into the background. It doesn't stand out too much. There we go. There are a few kind of streaky lines you can see down there that haven't quite blended in, but that's why I do the kind of up and down sort of movement with the chalk pastels, so these streaks will look as if it's part of the paper, just old paper that's past its best. Alright, there we go. Let's, whoops. And you can see what I mean there. It does get really messy going around the edges of the paper, so yeah, that's why my scrap paper behind there is a big one. Okay, now the first layer is done. You can go over that again if you want to. If there's any areas that you think need a bit of extra colour, just put some in. Fold your tissue a little bit so you have a clean part, and yep, just rub it in. I said a few little smudges there, that's fine. It's going to all blend in at the end. We're going to make this extra grungy. Alright, now we're going in with our second layer, and this is this colour, the kind of raw umber sort of colour. And this doesn't go quite as far in. Keep this one mainly around the edge, because when the paper ages, it ages on the edge first. Keep it pretty uneven, so it looks more kind of natural, the paper aging. I'm going to try and blend it in a bit more at the bottom. And again, find a clean piece of your tissue or get a fresh one. And blend that in. Use kind of circular kind of motions with it, or you can go up and down. Bit of a line there, but I think that's pretty cool. There we go. If there's any creases in the paper like there is there, the chalk pastel will pick up on that and kind of make a darker line. But because we're going for a grungy and not a perfect look, then it wouldn't really make a lot of difference. But just bear that in mind if that is something that would matter a lot. Okay, that's our second layer. And if you're happy with that, you can just leave it like that. That is fine. But I like to put in an extra, the darkest layer, which is more of a burnt umber kind of colour, I think. And this I keep just right around the very edge. Again, this is why you have the paper underneath. because it does get really messy. It tends to go everywhere. Doesn't have to be straight. This is just like a rough edging around it. Paper's not quite under there. And there we go, darkest colour around the very edge there. And we just blend that in. And you can do as many or as little layers of this if you want. I think that might need a little bit more of the raw umber colour there. And blend it outwards there. That's looking good to me. Need some more. Any way you think, there's no set specific way to put the pastels on. Depends how messy you want it to be at the end of the day, really. Okay, there we go. That's our first layer of the actual parchment done. And on this one, like I said, I've been extra grungy, splashing some paint on there. This is just gold, but you can. I've on my palette. These ones are a raw umber, that's a watercolour. And the other one is the pale gold, that's called Daleroni gouache. And you can use either, both, doesn't really matter. I'm going to use both just to show you what they do. Here's my water. And how I splash the paint. There are other ways to do it. This is how I do it. Mix it up. Can you see that on camera? Yeah. Mix it up with a little bit of water. You do want it to be fairly watery because we're going to be splashing it off with the brush. There we go. And if there's any of your picture that you do want to protect, just take another piece of scrap paper and put it over. And I want to leave this girl and her bunny, I want to leave her without any extra splashes. So I cover her up like that. And how I make the splashes is get the brush fairly loaded with the paint and tap it onto your finger like that. It takes a bit of practice to try and sort of know where the splashes are going to go. But you do want it to be fairly random anyway. There we go. Oh, that's a big one. There we go. I'll just wash my brush out there. And the other one is a darker brown. This raw umber, this one is watercolour, so it will be slightly more watery. And I'm going to try and keep this one more around the edges. There we go. Okay, there we are. Let's just make this edge a little bit darker, I think. Just blend that. We might need some more gold. So we can get some bigger splashes of the gold in the bottom corner. Oh, just protect my gun. Nah, it's not wanting to play ball, but that's cool. But yeah, that's the general principle. I'm just blending with my finger there, just so I can see what I'm doing. Giving it a bit of a darker edge. Go messier the better, really. It works for these kind of darker gothic-y pictures. I found to have, yeah, pretty messy background. It just goes with this style. You don't need to be neat. There we go. Just take off my scrap paper. And there we are. Now I would suggest spraying it with some fixitive. And if you don't have any specific fixitive spray, what I sometimes use is just normal hairspray. Just cheap hairspray from the supermarket. But at the moment I do have the proper fixative that I've been using. But chalk pastel will rub off really easily, and you can erase it. If any of this goes over your picture, you can erase it as long as your picture isn't pencil. Then you'd have to be more careful. If it was pencil, I would suggest doing the background first, so then you can control where this comes over your drawing or whatever. But yeah, I didn't really mind with this one. There we go. Let's just give it a quick spray. And there we are. That's how I do my grungy parchment style backgrounds. So I hope you enjoyed watching. Take care, everybody. I'll see you in future videos. Bye.